Well, hey everyone, it's Ashley here from Lovely Commotion. Thank you for joining me this Sunday. I am ready to talk games. Are you a game loving classroom? I know we are. So if you're looking for some cool games for pre K, I got you covered today, okay? What's even better is these games are not like traditional games. They're not like traditional board games where it takes a while, right? We don't have that much time in the classroom to be playing a full on long game. So they are quick, they are skill based, and they help our preschoolers with turn taking and winning and losing gracefully. I mean, name me a worksheet that can do that. So let's jump in today. 9 pre K math games that we love to play in my classroom. So these are student tested, student approved. So, first off, a path game. My friends love a path game. Path games are so super easy. You can definitely make your own out of stickers. We used to do that all the time. But really, the purpose of this is a 2-player game, and you can start on the go space and you'll want to end on the end space, right? So we can bring in different things like counting with one-to-one correspondence because they're jumping from space to space. And if you've ever tried this with preschoolers, sometimes this is a hard concept for them. They don't know when to count. They're not sure whether to go one like we would, or if they go hop 1, 2, 3. So they will count the space they started on. So this is something that's kind of hard for them to get a grasp on, but they're going to be working on counting with one-to-one correspondence. If you use numeral spinners or numeral die or even numeral little cards, they'll be working on number recognition. So that's a bonus. And then since it's 2-player, they are working on turn taking, eye-hand coordination to get, no matter, depending on how little your mover is, they might be working on some manual dexterity. And so as they're moving and hopping from space to space. So don't count out path games. Path games pack a big punch. They seem super simple and just boring, but you will be surprised at the how engaging your friends will find them. And you can definitely mix things up by just adding a different type of game board, adding either a different type of spinner, dice, card, lots of different ways to kind of mix it up. But path games definitely pack an educational punch. All right, now let's go into math game number 2. And that is, excuse me, just a second here. Grid games. I love grid games. And the reason I love grid games is because we are working on left to right, return sweep, just like we do when we read. We read from left to right and then we return sweep. And so this is a practice of that motion that is not a very innate motion. And so that is why I love these games in particular. They are fast, they are easy, and you really can really mix it up. You can make it holiday, you can make it so that they're reusable. You can make it like this one where they can take it with them. I mean, there's just so many possibilities. So basically, the goal is just to fill it up. And you'll be surprised at how much they love this. I think it's the idea of completing something and finishing it and filling it all the way up. But you can definitely do one-to-one correspondence here. Obviously, the left to right progression, top to bottom progression with the return sweep, eye-hand coordination, getting it in the actual box. In numeral recognition, if you use like a numeral spinner like in this picture, numeral dice, numeral cards, whatever have you. And I love it. So they could use, like in this one, they used a paint dauber, and they love using a paint dauber. So then they marked that many. So if they spun a 3, they would do 3. And then they have to continue on, right? They don't start over. They start at the end of the 3. And so you could use those little tiny cute erasers from the dollar spot. That's a great way to use this. Don't have a lot of money, you can use beans to cover these up. You can use coins as long as you're not working with children who may put them in their mouths, right? So spin and fill, so super easy, but engaging and quick and fun. And that is what I look for in a game to play with my preschoolers: engaging, quick, and fun. Now, this is a 1-player game, but you could definitely play it 2-player, side by side. They're kind of working together for a common goal. Or they could have their own game boards and they're taking turns. Who's going to fill it up first? So that's the way to kind of extend that game into more than one player. Game number 3, the number line game. Now, this game I love because we are starting with this whole number line concept, and they're going to see number lines later in their school lives. So this is kind of a great way to start that. And so this is a 2-player game, and you need like 2 clips or 2 movers, something of that capacity. And then you're going to start on the number 1. And so we're going to roll a dice, and look on this picture, there's 5. So we would move from the 1 up to the 5. And it's kind of showing that adding on type of mentality of I was at 1, I had 1, and now I'm adding 5 more and moving down the number line. And so then it's the next friend's turn. This is a really fast game, like really fast. And you'll find that they'll just want to play it again. They love being able to make it to the 10. You can, up above, you see some numerals up there to make it all the way to 20, if that's something you would want to do. But they take turns moving their mover and seeing who can get to the end of the number line first. So we're working on that left to right progression. We're working on familiarizing them with a number line, hand-eye coordination to move from space to space, counting with 1-to-1 correspondence. You can even ask them when they land on the space, which number did you land on? Which number are you on right now? And then they could work on some numeral recognition. So this is a fun, quick game that I love to use to introduce that whole idea of a number line and counting on. All right, game number 4 is the All Gone game. They love the All Gone game. Another so super simple 2-player game. You have kids sit across from each other, and so they each have their part on the game board. So like on this example, one person is the blue crown and the other person is the pink crown, or what, I can't remember what color it is, but they sit across from each other. And they start with 10 or a different chosen amount of items on their side. So on this particular one, I had these cute little jewels that are tiaras, and so they have 10. They both start with 10. That's how they start the game. You could add more, right? You could add less. Depends on what you want to do. So then they take turns rolling a die and removing that many counters off their board. And I like to make sure that if they play this more than once with the same friend, that they take turns on who goes first, because obviously the probability of you winning is greater if you start the game. But they roll the dice and they remove that many off of their side of the board. And the goal is to get it all gone first. And sometimes I will make it where, let's say they had two counters left on their board and they rolled a 3, they could take away those 2, or you can make it where they have to get the exact number to get it right. Kind of depends on how much time you have and how engaged they are. So with this, definitely counting with 1-to-1 correspondence. Numeral recognition, you could definitely bring this in if you added numeral spinner, numeral die, numeral cards, things like that. Early concept of subtraction. They're starting to understand that I had 10 and I took some away and now I only have this amount. And so when they get kind of lower in the amount of counters they have, I will ask them, oh my goodness, you started with 10 and you took away a lot. How many do you have left? And they'll count how many they have left. Oh, you took away. So I start using some of those words with them as they're playing. And then the math concept, least. Who has the least? Because this game is not about the most, this game is about the least. So super simple, all gone game. Pull that out, play that for a couple, maybe 5 minutes. And that is a great time frame for them because it's engaging. And if they want to play it again, they can. But we aren't kind of just waiting for this game to end, and that kind of takes away the whole fun and learning out of it when you're just wanting it to end. So game number 5 is called the race game. Race games are fun, 2-player. On this one, this is the fast cat race. So on one side we had the jaguar, on the other we had the tiger. And so they each get to choose who they want to be. Sometimes they want to be the same, and we maybe, flip a coin, whatever, we figured out. So they each sit side by side next to their cat. And on this one, I had a numeral spinner. So they're spinning the spinner and they are filling in that many spaces. So they're both trying to get to the star, the win star first, but who's going to make it first? And so they're using that one-to-one correspondence. They're using numeral recognition because I've got the numeral spinner there. And they're looking at comparison of sets very naturally because it's like, oh my goodness, I have 5 spaces left on my board and then I'll win. I only have 2 spaces. And so they'll even go as far as to say, oh, you're probably going to win because 2 is less than 5. You know, they're starting to put these wonderful things together that they wouldn't put together if they were just doing a worksheet and if they were just learning orally from you. They're actually in the game playing it and they're analyzing it. So it's pretty powerful stuff. Game number 6. This is the Coverup Game. This is a super fun, simple game, and I really like it. Again, they sit across from each other. There's numerals on there. You can definitely change this up to be shapes, colors. We even did this when I was teaching first grade. We would roll 2 dice and add them together and cover up the sum. And so whatever you want to put on the board itself, for this, it's numbers 2 through 10. So basically, they're going to roll 2 dice. There's not a 1, so they're going to roll 2 dice. And they're going to take turns rolling 2 dice. And you need to make sure that they each have counters or something to cover it up with. Like this is a puff ball. So for this game, they had 9 puff balls on their sides, right? And so they roll the 2 dice and they count them all. And then they cover up that numeral. So we're looking at numeral recognition. We're looking at counting with one-to-one correspondence. We're learning about turn taking, obviously, in all these 2-player games. And then subitizing too. They start to know that these 3 dots on this die mean 3, and you'll find that they can go ahead and grab that information. I know that's 3. And then so you can kind of start scaffolding, counting on, okay, this is 3 and one more, 3, 4. And so we're kind of starting to scaffold that idea of counting on and adding more. So very fun one. They like to play this one a lot. Who can cover up all the spaces first? And generally, if they roll and they already have that covered, then they just lose their turn. And then number 7 out of 9 games is the add 1, take 1 game. This one I don't play right at the beginning of the year, but when I think they're about ready, I have a dice that you can stick. You can kind of see it in the picture. You can stick whatever you would like in there. And so I have 3 plus 1s and 3 minus 1s. So this is something that you have to explain to them before they start playing. When you see a plus, that means you get to put 1 on. When you see a minus, that means you have to take it away. And so it's starting that understanding of the signs, the math symbols. But I definitely have to be right there when I'm teaching kids this game. And sometimes it takes them a little bit to pick it up, but we're familiarizing with that plus and minus sign. So they're sitting across from each other. This is the same board as the All Gone game. And instead, they are using, so basically, what they're doing is you have like 10 items. Let's say they each have 10. And in this case, it's puff balls because they're doing snow inside of a snow globe. So they're sitting across from each other. They each have 10 items or counters, and they're going to place 5 on there and 5 off. And so what they're going to do is they're going to take a turn rolling the plus 1 and minus 1 dice. So if they get a plus 1, they get to take one from outside of their board and put it on their board. If they get a minus 1, they have to take one off. And so this one can go a while. So you may need to kind of see if 10 is too many and bring that down maybe to 6, right? Or 8. But the object of the goal is to get all of either. You know, this is your choice. This is kind of how you're going to play it. Do you want to get them all on, or do you want to get them all off? And so that will be determined before you play the game. Like for this one, I wanted it all on there because we wanted all the snow in the snow globe. So they're rolling this and they're coming off and they're coming on and they're coming off and they're coming on. And it's a very fast-paced game, but it's a little bit of a longer game. And so that is why I generally don't play this towards, middle end year is when I'm opening this game up and teaching it to them. But familiarizing with that plus and minus sign. No expectation of necessarily knowing what it means or even saying what it means, but kind of starting to play this game with it. And then the simple concept of adding and taking away, that's what they're doing, and they may not realize it at first, but I can start saying, look, that's the plus one, so we're going to add it to your board. So start saying those vocabulary words as they're playing. And then comparing sets, they definitely can see, like, if, oh my goodness, you've almost got all yours put on, you only have one left. And so they're comparing those two sets on which has more and which has less. Pretty cool game. Does take a little more time, takes a lot more of your attention and being right there, but it's definitely a great upper level game. 8. These are more multi-step games. The last two are more multi-step. And so again, I wait a little while to do these because they are multi-step, but the collection game is pretty fun. So in this example, there's a pig cut out, and I'm going to have some pennies. And then there's the pig game board, and that's where it has start and it has the square around it. And so this could be a 1 or a 2-player game. It kind of decides on what you want to do. So I'm going to have a mover, and I'm going to place it on start. And I'm going to roll a dice, and I like to have them go clockwise around the board. Really depends, I guess, on what you want to do, but that just seems more natural to me. And so they roll a dice and they move that many spaces. So if there's 2 players, they would just take turns doing this. They're working together, more like a cooperative thing. So they roll a die, and let's say they got a 2. So from start, they're going to move 1, 2, and now they're on the 5. So they have to look and go, oh, okay, I got a 5. I've got to give the pig 5 pennies. And so now it's a 2-step, right? They're moving, they're figuring out what is on there, and now they're adding those to the pig. And sometimes they get lost on where, even if they've done this a couple times, they'll still be like, okay, wait, what was my next step? And so I like to be there to kind of coach them through that. Add 5 to your piggy bank. And so I have them do it basically just surface level. So they lay out the pennies, no stacking of the pennies, because the goal is to get the whole pig covered in pennies. And so make sure you have enough pennies to cover the surface of the whole pig. And so they keep doing this, right? They keep rolling, they keep adding, they keep rolling, they keep adding. So they're doing a lot of practicing of one-to-one correspondence, recognizing the numeral on the board, counting out that many onto the pig. And then we can kind of talk about surface area too, right? Like, he's not all the way filled up yet. He's still got a little bit of surface down here. Let's fill him up and see what we can do. And so it's kind of a longer game because of it as well. But you could always, decide on, maybe you want to use bigger coins. Maybe you want to use a smaller pig, whatever it may be. And there's lots of fun games to play this with. We do a smaller one that is a gumball machine picture. And so they add puffball gumballs to it. And so that one fills up quite a bit faster. But you can definitely play with 2 players if you want to work on turn taking and work on them working as a team to fill up the collection. So super fun one. Number 9, my kids, oh my gosh, they love this game. I think they could play it every day. It's called the Graph Game, and they love it because something different wins every time. So it is also this 2-step game. So we don't play it till a little bit later, but man, oh man, they love it. So basically, and you can play it 1 or 2 player, just like the collection game. You're either working together as a team, or you can just play it by yourself. So on this example, it's the Jingle Graph Game. And so I have them start at the bigger icon in the corner. So for this, it's a red light bulb that's bigger. Have them put their counter there, and they just choose a eraser. You can see there's a pile of erasers there. There was a friend playing a different game on the other side of the table that needed all those erasers. But so basically, and then you can see their little number die. And so working on numeral recognition because they got their number die. So they roll their number die and they move that many places. Again, I have them go clockwise, and whichever icon picture they land on is what they color in on the graphing page, which is what you can see with the blue marker. Kiddos getting ready to color in a ornament. And so I've taught them to start at the bottom with their graph, right? So we can see who's winning. And so if they were to move 4 on this one, if they were on start, 1, 2, 3, 4, they'd fill in an ornament. And so they'd go down here and they would color in one ornament, You could put a dot, dot markers, or if you want to reuse this, they could easily use some of these erasers to use as markers. And so they just keep going around and doing this. So they're practicing a lot of numeral recognition. They're practicing a lot of one-to-one correspondence. And then they're looking at graphing and comparing sets. It's fun because they will have played and then they'll go on out of small group and they'll go back to centers and then they'll come back and they'll say, oh, which one won on your game? On our game, the bell won. And they're like, on our game, the ornament won. And I have them predict when the game's almost over, like, who do you think's going to win? And it's just so amazing to watch those deeper level skills coming into play here. And someone will be like, well, if I can get a 4, if I can roll a 4 or more, then this one's going to win. But if I can't, then this one might win. It's like, whoa, you definitely are digging into that data, aren't you? And so amazing things are seen with games and things you can practice over and over again without it feeling like practicing, right? They don't want to sit there and do flashcards of numerals over and over again. But when they're playing a game and they have kind of this mission to get done and this fun little, I need to be able to fill this up. I want to see what happens. I want to play this. It makes looking at that number die over and over again so much more fun, right? I'm doing it for a purpose. And so loving games. We absolutely love games. Drop a comment if you have played any of these math games in your classroom and let me know how did it go, because that's a lot of what we do in small group is math games because so much goodness is in there. And if you are looking for done for you math games to bring into your classroom, I've got several for you. I've got kind of like a general use, you could use it all year long set of math games with these particular games in them. Then I have some monthly math games that have some other things like patterning and sequencing events and other things. So kind of more broad math games that are great for math centers. And then I have some at-home math games. So I basically took these math games that you are seeing here and added some parent directions. So, and all the pieces that you need. So you can send just home a packet and they can put it all together. They can work on it together and it's something that they can play together at home, which is always a bonus as well. So you can find those up in the post here. Drop me a comment. Let me know, do you use math games and do you love them as much as we do? Because if you haven't tried them, I encourage you to try them. You are going to find that your students just absolutely love them. So have a wonderful Sunday and go play and use some math games. See ya.